Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'll be sharing with you how to pad your bustiers to look this good, and it's really easy. If this looks like what you're interested in, just make sure you keep on watching. But before then, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Ini. I'm a self-taught fashion designer, and I strongly believe if I could teach myself how to sew, you too can do that. So if you're new to sewing or you're interested in sewing tutorials, just make sure you subscribe to the channel and let's get right into the video. So this is the pattern for the dress I was working with already. You know, if you're following me on this channel, I'm an advocate for using patterns because it makes your work really easy. So with this pattern now, it's going to be so easy to get my pad dimensions. So what I'm doing now is just labeling the under bust so that I don't get confused. And after that, from the side pattern, I'm gonna go in by about 5 inches. Your sewing allowance is supposed to be your guide, so I'll go in now by my sewing allowance at that point so that it can help me to decide how deep, like how much I'm going to go in with the padding. Okay, so the ultimate goal is to make sure that your pad does not get to your sewing allowance. So now I'm just going to mark about 5 inches to 6 inches. Then after doing that, I'm going to follow the pattern just the way it looks, and I'll create a curve. Another thing I'm going to do is to make sure that I come down by about half of an inch. So this is just to help the sewing process, because when your pad gets to the top part, it might be difficult for your machine to stitch on the pad. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just to follow the design. I said design, just follow the shape like this, and this part is ready. I'll simply keep that pattern aside, and now I'll work with the center piece. That sign you can see there indicates that this pattern was on a fold when I cut. Okay, if you know how to draft a bustier, you would already know these things, but in case you don't, this is how it is done. And now I'm just repeating the same thing I did on the other pattern, coming down by just half of an inch just to give some room for the sewing process. After doing that, I'll just trace it as easy as that, and I'm going to cut it out. So this is what we have now, and I'll also indicate that this is going to be cut on a fold just to help me to remember when I start cutting. So I'll also cut out the other parts that I'll be cutting one individually. This one is not going to be on a fold. And now this is the material I'm working with to pad the bustier. This is called a wadding. It is the medium wadding. It's not light, it's just in between. So you can just ask for that in your local store where they sell sewing equipment, sewing items. It's as easy as that. You just ask for wadding and it will be given to you. So now I'll go ahead now and cut my pieces. Don't forget, this one now is not going to be on a fold. I'll be having 2 pieces of this. So I think my scissors was giving me, that scissors was not strong enough for it. So I had to change to this thicker scissors. So I used this to cut it out. And once I was done, this is what I got. I would also use this and cut out on a fold, and these are my pieces. Okay, so now I'll get my fabric. I'm putting this on the main fabric, not on the lining. I don't know, I think some people put it on the lining, but you can put it on the main fabric. Okay, so I'll just arrange this fabric the way it's going to be. The center part, you can see that center was on a fold, and this is it on the main fabric, and this is my wording that I've cut out. When you buy your wording, you're going to realize that there's one part that has a shiny interface. It has a shiny face, so that's the part that will be facing the fabric. Okay, that part is going to face the wrong side of your fabric. This is the wrong side of my fabric, and you can see that half of an inch that I left at the top part, so that when I place it like this, I'll have some allowance. Okay, so that shiny parts, make sure you place the shiny part so it doesn't stick to your iron. When it sticks to your iron, it's not easy to clean off. Okay, make sure you're using a steam iron. If you don't have a steam iron, it's still fine. Just do with what you have. Okay, so this is me trying to attach the pad to the fabric, and it was at this point I put my tape to confirm because I like to recheck anything I'm doing. And it was at this point I realized that my cutting for this point was wrong. The full length of this top was supposed to be 26.5 inches, and I was seeing 29.5. It was then I realized that I cut at the wrong point. So you can now see why I always emphasize on using pattern papers. Imagine if I was not using a pattern paper, how would I have cross-checked to even find out that? So I intentionally put this part to show you people, just so that you understand and you can relate with any mistakes that can be made. Okay, so now that part was okay. I cross-checked. I put my tape from the under bust. That's the under bust you are working with. Just make sure when you place that number, for example, I was working with 15 as under bust. Place that 15 on the under bust line, and if it gives you the full length you're working with, that's when you can confirm that it is correct. So I really hope you understand my point. The simple thing I did was to take off that old one, though it wasn't so easy, so you should try and avoid such mistakes. Then I cut out a bigger one. Okay, I cut out a bigger one and I kept the other one aside because it's no longer useful. So I added my hemming gum. Hemming gum can help you to add this thing better because sometimes the gum that comes with this wardens, they are not so effective. Okay, so I also left that 1/2 inch that I told you about in the beginning of this video. Then I attached it using steam. Your steam iron is going to make your work so easy. So I attached all these pieces and it's as easy as that. So once that was done, I went ahead to attach them. I had a design in front, so I attached the design first because I wanted to cover it up with the lining. Then I took my pieces like this. I like to stitch from the bottom part. I've said this so many times on this channel. It's better to start from the bottom part. When you do that, you would avoid running into any problems. Okay, so from the under, I started stitching by 1/2 inch because 1/2 inch was the allowance I kept to join the pieces together. If you're a beginner trying to do this, you might find it a bit tricky, but it is possible. Okay, just follow the shape, taking out 1/2 inch like this. When you get to the curved parts, it is tricky, but it is possible. Just put your sewing machine, make sure you're taking only 1/2 inch even while you are curving the fabric. That's taking that curve. Can you see what I'm doing? Just make sure you are curving and taking only 1/2 inch. So if that foam got to that part I'm stitching, it might be difficult. Not everybody has a strong machine, even though it can stitch on it, but if you want to avoid it, it's just better. Okay, so just take the 1/2 inch like this, and when you are done, you should have this curve looking like this. Can you see? Even if you have just a little excess at the top, it's normal, just a little. If it's more than 1/2 inch, maybe you did something wrong. Your excess should not be more than 1/2 inch, like what you can see at that part. Okay, so after that, just use your bust ham, tailor's ham, and iron all these things open, and you have something looking perfect like this. If you learned anything from this video, please make sure you subscribe, you like this video, follow me on Instagram. I share useful videos there as well. Thank you, and see you in my next one. Bye.